G'day and welcome to another episode of Tomo's Tune Ups. On this episode, we're going to be upgrading the light bar on my Mini. Now the reason we're going to be upgrading this is because the one I have on there at the moment is not only old, but is also, quite frankly, cheap and quite shit. Flickers during the night, it's not reliable, it doesn't really do much. I might as well use a candle to try and look ahead of me. I'll put the link in the description below where you can buy your own. I got this one through work, so if you come see us through Penrith City Tyres Automotive, I can do you a discount on it. So let's get to work removing the old one. Now the first step is going to be disconnecting the battery. Before you carry out any electrical work on your vehicle, always ensure you disconnect the negative side of the battery and then remove it from the post. To ensure the negative cable doesn't touch the terminal, place a rag over it, that way it'll keep it safe and insulated. Now you probably saw how dodgy some of that wiring was. I only temporarily wired this in just to get me by, to make sure that the light bar worked. Then when it did, I had completely forgotten about the wiring. And to be quite honest, it was absolute rat shit. So good thing the new kit comes with a new harness where it's going to be a hell of a lot neater than what the original one was. So let's unbox it, find out what we got, and let's start running it. So here's our new light bar. Let's have a look, see what we got in here. So we have our set of instructions. Okay, so we've got a couple of boxes down here. This box here, all right, so that's all the wiring harnesses that we need to be able to wire it up. Down here, I'd imagine it's probably going to be the mounting brackets for it all. Yep. Sweet, so there's a heap of brackets there, bolts, screws, there's pretty much everything we need to be able to mount it. So we might do it the same way as what I've got it mounted here. If not, we might put some L brackets on there. And of course, we have the light bar itself. So the original light bar that I have on there is 18 inches. This is an upgrade and is a 22 inch. So there she is. A bit more heavy duty than the original one I had. All right, so move the boxes out of the way. Now we can start the assembly process. So the good thing about this kit is it comes with a couple of different patch harnesses. This is probably going to be the one that we use. So what we're going to do is use this female end here. It's going to go onto the back of the globe. This one is going to piggyback onto the original main wiring harness. And then this one's going to go directly to the light bar. Now this is going to give us the added function that it will work when it's on high beam, but also we can turn the switch on and off. So we can have the high beam separate to work in the LED light bar. Or you can alternatively rig it up to work just on the high beam switch. Alright, so we'll start by taking the wiring out and undoing it all. Then we can start running it, seeing how much length we have. Considering it is a Mini and they're not very long to begin with, we're not going to probably need all of this loom, and we can tuck a lot of it up under the dash, which would be really convenient. So this one's going to go directly to the light bar. And then as we start to pull it apart, you will see in a moment this white connector right here, that one's going to go directly to the patch harness that we're going to be running for the light globes. Alright, so now that we've got it somewhat untangled, let's start running it. So what we're going to do is begin with the patch harness connector. So we're going to use the white one right here, and we're going to run it up underneath one of the guards. Now, the most easily accessible and the shortest one that we can use with not having to use too much of the wiring is going to be the driver's side headlight. So I'm going to leave that one dangling just behind the headlight, and then we can work on mounting the relay, running the power and earth cables, and then running it all the way through the dash. Now, a cool thing I just found in the harness, not only does it come with a switch where you can turn it on and off, but it also comes with a connector as well. So you can actually disconnect this, and that way you don't need to run the entire switch through a giant hole the size of the actual switch. So this is an added benefit, that you only need a smaller hole for it to go through. And this also might enable us to not run the switch whatsoever and only run it off the high beam switch. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is just run the relay. Now, up underneath here, where the wiring runs through up to the main harness, through to your fuse and through to the bulkhead, there is a small hole just down below here beside the earth point. I'm just going to run a bolt and just put it straight through there. That way it'll just save me drilling a hole. It's secure, it's out of the way, and it's not going to be touching anything. Also, this will give me the chance down the track that if I need to reposition it, it's going to be an easy fix and I'm not going to be drilling holes into my car. So now that she's tight, we can now start running the wiring for the power supply. So what we're going to do is just run it to the ignition solenoid here, and then run the earth possibly to the engine block. Okay, now she's tight, we can then go and connect to the earth, which is just going to be down here to the earth point on the side of the bell housing. It also comes with a fuse as well, so if for whatever reason you get too much current, it's going to pop the fuse before it destroys anything. Now, a big sincere apology to all my UK followers, but it really pisses me off that these Minis came out with round terminals for most of their connectors. Instead of them being the original spade type terminals, they decided to run with the round type. So what I've just figured out that I need to do in order for me to convert it from this style here, which is circular all the way around, to a spade type like you would find in your garden shed to dig a hole, I'm going to have to cut them off and I'm going to have to resolder some new joints on there. So I'll do a time lapse, let's cut them off, let's make the harness so we can make this fit. Next step is to plug in the patch harness that we just wired in. Alright, next step, we're just going to grab the harness that came out through the grill and we're going to connect it up to the new light bar. Then we should be able to reconnect the battery and test it to make sure that everything works. Alright, next thing, let's reconnect the battery and let's test it. Okay, so let's switch the ignition on. We got reds, we got the headlights. Yes, my car does sound like a jet taking off. Let's turn the switch on and let's find out how it goes. Alright, so now that we've confirmed that everything works, the switch is working, the high beam is working as well as the LED light, it's time to mount the light and then start the reassembly process. Alright, so there we have it. That's how you install a light bar to your classic Mini, or in my case, replace it with the old shitty one with a really bright one. So don't forget, as you go along, make sure the first thing you do is disconnect the battery from the negative post. Once you've done that, run all the wiring, get everything connected before you start drilling holes and making modifications to your car. Switch the circuit back on, so reconnect the battery, go back through, test everything, make sure everything works. Once you're satisfied with it, then go and drill your holes and rerun run your wiring, making sure everything is neat, make sure it's not near anything hot, moving, or anything that's going to cause any damage. So make sure you go out, test it, and ensure that it works. As well, make sure that you flash those absolute dickheads on the freeway that pull out in front of you with a horn that sounds like you're bloody screaming at them. They can't hear you, so this will do some good by telling those absolute idiots off. So stay COVID safe, guys. I've got a really exciting episode coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be filming, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, stay COVID safe, and we'll see you next time on an episode of Tomo's Tune Ups, all things DIY and mechanical. Don't worry, guys, I'm not going to bore you with the reassembly process simply because it'll be exactly like me removing everything, but in fast forward. See you next time.